The end of the world, the beginning of everything. That's the motto for Ushuaia, Argentina, the southernmost city on the planet, and the perfect description of our voyage. We're departing Ushuaia to cross the great southern ocean to Antarctica, retracing the route of explorer Ernest Shackleton in his harrowing 1914 voyage on the Endurance. 100 guests and 12 guides embark on the 400-foot academic Sergei Vavilov, a Russian-owned and manned research vessel. Rumor has it that the ship's early hydroacoustical ocean research included listening for U.S. submarines. It's January 2007, summer in the southern hemisphere. Temperatures will generally hover right above freezing. Night consists of just a few hours of twilight each day. From the tip of Tierra del Fuego, we travel northeast across the southern Atlantic Ocean to the Falkland Islands, where we get our first good look at penguins and cormorants. From the Falklands, we are 2 days at sea, crossing the great southern ocean on our way to South Georgia Island. As we find ourselves 500 miles from the nearest shore, we land creatures feel lost in a watery desert. But as we spend our time out on the deck observing our surroundings, we realize the southern ocean is in fact full of life. Birds soar all around us in every direction, day or night. Petrels, prions, and skuas scooping food from the sea in silent, energy-efficient swoops. And like the ancient mariner, we are kept constant company by the albatross. The royal albatross, the smaller, gray-headed albatross, and the giant wandering albatross, with its 12-foot wingspan that grows whiter and whiter with age. The variety of life around us expands, with seals and sea lions, penguins, and whales. They dive for fish, squid, and the tiny crustaceans known as krill, all part of an underwater smorgasbord invisible to us. These birds and mammals are specially adapted for life hundreds of miles from land. Seabirds drink the ocean water and discharge the excess salt through special tubes. Seals sleep just under the surface and come to the top for air without even waking up. A vibrant ecosystem of feeding animals surrounds us. There's a pretty vibrant ecosystem of feeding animals on board, too. A 5-star chef serves up delicious meals. Morning lattes and the daily cocktail hours frame our days. On January 14th, we arrive at South Georgia Island, a 100-mile-long British territory in the southern Atlantic. Before modern whalers arrived, no humans had ever lived here. Since the whaling industry ended, British government officers, scientists, and museum staff are the only inhabitants. The only human inhabitants, that is. At St. Andrews Bay, we encounter a sea of penguin humanity. 150,000 families of king penguins. It's a sensory overload of eye-popping sights, noises, and smells. King penguins are one of 6 penguin species we meet on the trip. Each species has a fascinating life story adapted to its environment. King penguins, for example, have an 18-month mating cycle, while all other penguin species mate annually. The St. Andrews Bay colony has it all. Courting and mating, parents holding an egg on their feet, shrouded by the belly flap, juveniles pecking and squawking for regurgitated food, and teenagers molting their fluffy brown down for their sleek tuxedo. Flotillas of skinny moms and dads plunge into the sea, headed for the feeding grounds hundreds of miles offshore. At the same time, the fattened kings return, ready to find their mate and offspring. The colony is a hive of activity. We tread carefully, trying not to provoke fur seals that might think we're threatening their young. But the playful adolescents pay us no mind. The elephant seals are so massive, we wonder how they travel this far up the beach. until one demonstrates his agility. As we leave South Georgia to sail 800 miles west-southwest to Antarctica, we sight our first gigantic tabular iceberg. Their perfectly flat surfaces look strangely out of place in this natural setting. During the 2-day sail to Antarctica, we hit a Southern Ocean storm. The waves surged 20 feet high, and we are closed off from the decks and observed from the wheelhouse. We can't help but think about Sir Ernest Shackleton and his crew. Shackleton was a seasoned Antarctic explorer. When Roald Amundsen won the race to the South Pole, Shackleton decided to lead an expedition that would cross the entire Antarctic continent. They departed South Georgia on the Endurance in December 1914, 92 years before our own voyage. Now we're in sight of Elephant Island, the outermost ice-covered landmass off the Antarctic Peninsula. When we're close enough, we board Zodiacs to explore the site of Shackleton's undertaking. After reaching Antarctica, the Endurance became trapped in early winter ice. For months, the ship drifted with the ice before its hull was crushed. Shackleton and his men camped on ice floes for another 6 months before setting out in lifeboats. After 5 days at sea, they reached Elephant Island in April 1916. This is the most barren, wind and wave-swept spot on Earth. All we see are cliffs and hanging glaciers calving into the ocean. How could these 28 men have lived on this rocky outcrop pummeled by giant waves? No exploring party from our ship, the Vavilov, has been able to land on Elephant Island in 15 years. Suddenly, our leader signals that we are going to brave the rocky coast. And we make it. Walking in the footsteps of Shackleton and his crew, we begin to understand how they survived. Seals, sea lions, penguins, and seabirds provided food and fuel to the stranded explorers. After 2 weeks here, Shackleton and 5 other men set out in one of the 20-foot open lifeboats to cross hundreds of miles of treacherous seas to seek help. Astoundingly, after weeks at sea and a mountainous and glacial overland trek, Shackleton's team reached the South Georgia whaling station. Because it was winter, it took another 3 months to obtain the right craft and get through the pack ice. In August 1916, Shackleton rescued the 22 men who had been left behind on Elephant Island. The day after our amazing visit to Elephant Island, we reached the Antarctic Peninsula and spend the next few days exploring the surprising life and stunning scenery at the tip of this frozen continent. The silence is so profound. We can hear the music of the fracturing ice, clinking, snapping, and crackling. But, as we discovered in the Southern Ocean, we are in the midst of an active animal society. In every direction, gulls and terns dive for their dinner. We encounter both humpbacks and the small minke whales.
Right here, right under us.
Oh! They dive, feed, and blow huge bubbles under our Zodiac. Many species of seals are active too, but everybody has to take a nap sometime, including this penguin-hunting leopard seal. Gentoo penguins occupy the shorelines we explore. The Gentoos are enterprising nest builders. They hike up snowy mountain slopes to get to rare places of exposed rock. From the rock piles, they take pebbles to build their nests. The parents share the duties of incubating the eggs and hatchlings. They alternate trips out to sea to fatten themselves and to bring back food to regurgitate for their young. Babies squawk so their parents can identify them among the hordes. But in nature, everybody has to eat. Predators like the skua, a hook-beaked giant brown seabird, cruises overhead looking to steal an egg or kill an unintended young'un. Other scavengers await their opportunity. The dirty white sheathbill skulks around, pecking at leftover regurgitated krill. They feed off carcasses of bird or mammals alike. Most people don't associate this frozen continent with visual splendor, but a trip down the Le Maire Channel dispels any doubts. Under stunning, clear skies, we cruise slowly through a slot of glaciered cliffs, dodging penguin and seal-littered icebergs. 5,000-foot peaks with snowy cornices of glacier ice cream rise straight from the sea to the blue skies above. One breathtaking view after another in what is widely considered the most beautiful spot in the Antarctic leaves us exhausted with oohing and aahing. Much too soon, we reach our southernmost destination on the voyage, Petermann Island, 65 degrees south of the equator. At this point, the days never descend into darkness at all. Here, we get our first look at the small Adelie penguins. They're among the most southerly of the seabirds, living near the permanent ice pack. While kayaking shore to explore the Adelie and Cormorant colony, we're suddenly surrounded by hundreds of Gentoo penguins heading out to the feeding grounds. Against the splendid backdrop of the Le Maire Channel, the Gentoos porpoise through the water like jet squadrons. As we reach shore, the crystal clear water treats us to an underwater penguin ballet. Or maybe they're more like rockets. And now it's time to head back. The Vavilov crosses the usually stormy Drake Passage to Cape Horn, the graveyard of many ships in calm seas, followed by our constant companion, the Albatross. But like all sailors returning from hundreds of miles of ocean passage, we feel the embrace of terra firma. As the sun sets, the first lights of civilization greet us on the distant shores. And like Shackleton and the Endurance crew, we have returned safely, but without their deprivation and suffering, and with a deep appreciation for the vast and diverse life that flourishes in the southern oceans and Antarctica.